The countdown had already begun, but nobody could hear it. While the king sat inside his palace convinced he still had time, hungry families filled the streets of Paris, whispers turned into outrage, and history quietly prepared its greatest surprise. Stay until the end, because the final hours before the French Revolution are far more dramatic than most history books will ever tell you. The air was heavy on the evening of July 13, 1789. Dark clouds drifted over Paris as church bells echoed through narrow streets crowded with anxious faces. Bakers had little bread to sell. Mothers stood in endless lines, praying there would be enough food left to feed their children. Prices had soared beyond imagination, while rumors spread faster than the wind. Everywhere people whispered the same haunting question: how much longer can this continue? Inside the royal palace at Versailles, Louis XVI wrestled with difficult decisions. He believed the kingdom could still be saved. Advisors crowded around him with conflicting opinions. Some pleaded for compromise before it was too late. Others demanded a show of military strength that would crush the unrest before it spread any further. Every hour that passed made the choice more dangerous than the last. Outside the palace walls, another story was unfolding. Thousands of ordinary Parisians gathered in taverns, marketplaces, and public squares. They weren't trained soldiers. They were blacksmiths, merchants, laborers, fathers, mothers, and young men who had watched their families suffer while the wealthy remained untouched. Their frustration had turned into something far more dangerous than anger. It had become resolve. Then came the rumor that changed everything. Royal troops were surrounding Paris. To the king's supporters, it was a precaution. To the people, it looked like the beginning of a massacre. Fear swept through the city like wildfire. If the army struck first, every hope for change could disappear before sunrise. That fear transformed into action. Throughout the night, crowds searched desperately for weapons. Blacksmiths hammered iron until sparks lit the darkness. Citizens broke into armories looking for muskets, swords, and anything they could use to defend themselves. Paris no longer slept. Every distant hoofbeat sounded like an approaching army. Every church bell seemed to count down the final hours before destiny arrived. Then one name began to echo through the streets. The Bastille. The medieval fortress prison towered above the city, not because it held thousands of prisoners, it didn't, but because it represented something far greater. For generations, it had stood as the unmistakable symbol of absolute royal power. If the Bastille could fall, perhaps the monarchy itself was not untouchable. Still, dawn had not yet broken. During those final hours, uncertainty gripped every corner of the city. Some begged for patience, hoping bloodshed could still be avoided. Others believed there was no turning back. Families embraced their loved ones before they disappeared into the swelling crowds, uncertain if they would ever return home. Yet despite the fear, they kept walking toward history. Meanwhile, precious time slipped away at Versailles. Messages arrived late. Reports underestimated the seriousness of the unrest. Those closest to the king still believed the crisis could be managed. They failed to understand that this was no longer simply a political dispute. It had become a battle between a starving population and a system they believed had abandoned them. As the first light of July 14th spread across Paris, thousands marched with a single purpose. They surrounded the Bastille, demanding weapons and the surrender of the fortress. Negotiations quickly broke down. Tension exploded into confrontation. Before the day was over, the Bastille had fallen, and its governor, Bernard-René de Launay, was overwhelmed as royal authority suffered one of its greatest humiliations. But the fall of the Bastille was only the beginning. What followed were years of hope, triumph, fear, and unimaginable turmoil. The old feudal system was dismantled. Privileges enjoyed by the nobility and clergy were abolished. The revolutionary government proclaimed the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, declaring that all citizens should stand equal before the law. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen promised freedoms that would inspire generations around the world. Yet the revolution soon took a darker turn. Political divisions deepened. Suspicion replaced trust. During the Reign of Terror, thousands were executed as revolutionary leaders sought to eliminate anyone they believed threatened the new republic. Ironically, the revolution that had begun with cries for freedom became consumed by fear and vengeance. Even King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette were executed, bringing centuries of Bourbon monarchy to a dramatic end. Eventually, exhaustion overtook the nation. The most radical leaders fell from power, the terror ended, and France searched desperately for stability. A few years later, a brilliant young military commander named Napoleon Bonaparte rose to prominence, seized political control, and brought the revolution to its final chapter. Although he crowned himself emperor, many revolutionary reforms survived. Feudal privileges never returned, equality before the law became a lasting principle, and the idea that governments derive their legitimacy from the people forever changed politics across Europe and beyond. The French Revolution proved that ordinary people possess the power to reshape history, but it also revealed the terrible cost when justice gives way to revenge, and when leaders refuse to hear the cries of those they govern. Perhaps the greatest lesson is this: revolutions are rarely born in a single day. They are forged over years of ignored suffering, broken trust, and unanswered voices until one final moment makes silence impossible. And maybe that's why the last 24 hours before the French Revolution still echo across history. They remind us that no throne is too powerful to fall, no people are too weak to be heard, and no nation can ignore injustice forever without paying a price. If this story gave you a new perspective on one of history's greatest turning points, let us know in the comments. Do you believe the French Revolution ultimately brought more freedom than suffering, or did its cost outweigh its promise? Share this video with another history lover, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories from the last 24 hours, because sometimes, a single day doesn't just change a nation, it changes the world forever.